Hey guys, Justin here. Today I'm going to go over the 5 worst purchases I've made in iRacing in terms of how much I use it for how much money I spent on it. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that I regret making all of these purchases. I do regret at least a couple of them, but I just wanted to let you guys know some of the pitfalls that buying content on iRacing can face. If this video gets 200 likes, I will make a full comprehensive buyer's guide for all levels of oval, at least on the NASCAR side. Alright, let's get right to it. And being placed at number 5 on my list is the Mount Washington Hill Climb. Now, number 5 and number 4 are actually the only two content pieces that I have never raced an official race with on iRacing, but why are they only at number 5 and number 4? Well, we'll get to number 4 in a little bit, but for Mount Washington, upon release, I had a ton of fun with this track. As you can see here, I spent maybe 2 or 3 days on the Beetle, just grinding, getting to the top as fast as possible, just learning in and out the track, just flying all over the place, throwing my car all over the place, hitting a lot of trees. It was a ton of fun. And so if you're looking for just a fun thing to race, to drive, to test, then I would highly recommend actually getting this piece of content, even though I put it on this list. But the pitfall of it is you're just probably never going to race anything official on it. I actually don't even know if there's a series right now that runs it. If there is, please let me know, because I might actually want to check it out eventually. But pretty much about a couple weeks after this released, it kind of died. Like, you stopped seeing videos on the internet of people getting to the top in weird cars and the soapbox derby going down the hill. People did have their fun with it just like I did, but as quickly as it came, it just disappeared. So would it be worth a buy right now? I would say yes, but only if you know going into it that you're just buying it as a piece of content to have fun by yourself on it. Nothing really competitive. Don't expect anything crazy in terms of like officials or anything, and don't expect using it a lot unless you're just gonna ride it by yourself a lot. And at number 4 we have the Mercedes AMG W12E Performance, aka the Formula 1 car. Now, I know what you all are thinking. This is a pretty darn good car, it's pretty universally loved for all that I know, so why is this number 4 on the list? And this is actually a lesson in buying within your license requirements and your ability to race certain races. So for the W12, I can't really run any series with it right now with my C-Class road license besides their fixed Formula 1 series. And because of that, I just have never run an official with it. But like Mount Washington and the piece of content before this on the list, I really enjoyed driving this car, and I have run some of the unofficial races on the week of release, and I kind of bought into the hype, and I don't really regret buying into the hype because it's a great car, it was fun to drive, and I kind of got my fun out of it. But I've also come to terms with I'm not really a road guy. I'm not super interested in getting an A license on road, putting in the time for that, because I'm really just an oval guy. So when you're looking to buy pieces of content, especially if you're newer, don't buy super far into the future. So what I'm saying is, let's say that you're still rookie in oval. Well, you could buy the Cup car to run Carb Cup, but those are just unofficial races. So if you aren't going to be just running a ton of Carb Cup to make it worth the money, you don't have any reason to buy the NASCAR Cup car until you get an A license. So you need to be looking closely ahead, so maybe buying the ARCA car, the late model, some tracks that those cars go to often. That's a smarter use of your money than to buy way far into the future. And I kind of knew that when I was buying the Mercedes. I was thinking, yeah, I'm probably never going to race this because I'm probably not going to get an A license in road anytime soon. And because of that, I knew that I was basically just paying $12 for that week to race a new car in unofficial races that was cool and hyped up. Sure, I've gotten a better bang for my buck with a lot of other pieces of content that I bought, but at the end of the day, I had fun with the money I spent, and so I don't regret it. And at number 3 is a track that's commonly used across many different cars, even in NASCAR, but I do not recommend anybody to buy this, and actually, it just featured on my channel recently. And of course, that is Martinsville. Martinsville is on this list not because of how much I've used it, but because of the experiences that you're most likely to have when driving this track. Something about Martinsville, with the heavy braking and the really tight turns, make it so that it just turns into a wreck fest almost every single race done there. And some people really enjoy that physical type of racing, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing to enjoy. But for me personally, I can't get on board with all that beating and banging. I usually end up on the wrong end of stuff, and it's really not in my nature to be super aggressive on track like that to begin with. So at the end of the day, it just ends up being a really tedious and unfun experience whenever I'm racing Martinsville. I think Jordan from Bottom Split really showed what Martinsville is all about recently in his NIS race when he pitted 100 times in one race and still got a top 5. If that doesn't exemplify Martinsville, I'm not sure what does. And yes, I'll probably race Martinsville again at some point, and where I'll be sitting on the grid thinking to myself, why the hell did I do this again? But the big lesson in all of this is, when you're first starting out, buy tracks that are more likely to be more fun for your style. And at number 2 may come a shock to some, but maybe not to others, and it is actually Iracing Superspeedway. This was another track that had a decent amount of hype surrounding it when it came out a few years ago, and when I first raced it in an unofficial, I thought it was one of the coolest things I'd ever done. But as time went on, I found myself enjoying superspeedways less and less, and then the iRacing Superspeedway was being utilized on the schedule less and less. In fact, this is the first season in a while where I felt like the iRacing Superspeedway was being put into some of the schedules. And because of that, it kind of shows that it's only going to be on the schedules around the off season. So parts of season 4 and 1 are going to see iRacing Superspeedway, and then the rest of the seasons where there's real tracks kind of littering the schedule, that's when you're never going to see iRacing Superspeedway. So we're kind of fitting multiple aspects together. I kind of started to dislike superspeedways a little bit more, and then that superspeedway was just a little bit less good racing in officials than Talladega and even Daytona. And then less people start coming out to those races, and the only people that are left are just the people who do superspeedways over and over and over again, and you kind of get the same crowd. It doesn't feel as fresh and fun every time. And so I ended up just never racing it much after the first time that it was on the schedule. And maybe I don't have the same disdain for iRacing Superspeedway that I do for Martinsville. But at the same time, my feelings towards iRacing Superspeedway are almost nothing. And in a way, I'd rather have a feeling on a track than just nothing. And the number one piece of content that I regret buying is the IR-01. Now, if you're new to iRacing, you might not know the history of the IR-01. A few years ago, it was the next big thing. iRacing wasn't really able to license a new Formula 1 car before the Mercedes, so they went to Dallara and they worked together to build this sim-only super Formula type car. And when they released it, everyone was like, wow, this is iRacing's version of the Formula 1 car and it's going to be so cool. Well, fast forward to when they actually released it, and it didn't drive amazing. And because it didn't drive amazing, it pretty much died instantly. I think I ran an official IR-01 race maybe the second week it was out, and I made it one corner, and then the leader spun out, and I wrecked into him as second place because he clogged the track, and then I alt F4'd, and I said, I'm never touching the IR-01 again. And maybe I let the experience bias me too much on this car, but at the same time, it's just been completely updated and outclassed by the W12. It makes it so that there's almost no reason to get the IR-01, unless you specifically enjoy the IR-01 as a car so much that you're willing to run a lesser participation series for it. And the problem is that you have to try it out to know, and honestly, I don't think it's worth it to buy it just to try it out. Leave a comment down below for any purchases that you ended up regretting in iRacing to help some newer guys save a little bit of money. Alright, that's it for me. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and hope to see you all on the track.